This is Manderston House, one of the key houses from the TV series Belgravia, based on Julian Fellowes' best-selling novel.
They did use this room, and they set out a long table, seating 24, and Paul the caretaker will show you photographs of that. They also used this room for makeup and getting dressed as well. And I had to stand on the stairwell and saying, shh, they're filming, because we have visitors still coming into the house on filming days. So they used this room, and I'll show you where else. We had Channel 4 doing the Edwardian Country House in 2001, and they decided to use this wine cooler as a wine cooler, stuffed it full of ice, put a bottle in, and they found it had an enormous crack, which you can see down there. So that was the end of that idea. The ceiling is based on Syon House just outside London, which was a Robert Adam house. So, you get hints of Robert Adam coming in all over the place. Marble inlaid floors. Don't think the marble comes from anywhere in Scotland. I've been told it comes from 7 other countries. And the fireplace is very similar to the one at Kedleston. And also, it's got silk damask wall coverings. It's got an Austrian oak floor, which is very good for dancing. I believe the oak for the floor came from a wood in Austria, which James Miller just bought. He bought the whole wood, chopped it down. I'm afraid that's not a very good eco thing to say these days, and turned it into the oak floors. But it's a very substantial floor, very good for dancing. Stiletto heels won't make marks in it. And that's Nancy Bailey over there with all her finery on, because she thought she was about to be invaded by the Germans during the Second World War. And I think was going to make a quick getaway with all her finery. And on 7th of November 1905, they had this magnificent ball. By January, he was dead, because he went out hunting, caught pneumonia, and that was the end. So no children, as I said, and it was his sister, Amy. Yeah. The Edwardian Country House was also filmed here, as I said before. But again, it's not properly an Edwardian house. It's a sort of Georgian house with an Edwardian makeover. But this fits in with the time much more, yes.
I'd use Belgravia, I'd use any of our furniture because it's not the right period. I mean, the marble hall was just full of the stuff they brought in. And for me, the most important job is what I call the prop men, because they have to empty the rooms and then I've got to put them back exactly. So you can imagine there's a lot of furniture in that big rooms.
How long have you been working here?
Just over 2.5 years. Yes, I'm basically the caretaker here, but I tend to do other things now, like DIY, and I cut a lot of the grass in the season. So yeah, it keeps me busy, which is great. It's a nice job.
So one's male, one's female.
Yes. One will ring the bells upstairs, and each bell's got a different tone. So, and you saw the servant probably had that bell, so you knew when it rang, oh, that's me, I've got to go. Yeah, well, a lot of the servants would live down here. I'll show you something up here, which you don't normally see to the public. That's the housekeeper's room, which they use for filming. But we normally have a rope across here. But this is where the lowest of the low servant used to sleep. That pulls down, and there's a chamber pot here.
Oh my goodness.
I'll say to visitors, this is where I sleep.
Yeah.
But yes.
Wow.
Yeah, the servants will be down here. Edwardian Country House, they use the fire room, which we'll see, for where they used to use for meetings. To get into their house, because they couldn't use the main entrance, they had to come through this entrance which is down there, which is called my entrance actually. And this lady who could barely walk managed to get down about 15 steps, I think, to get to this level. And then she was expecting to have to go up. And I said, no, you're using the lift. This sort of thing. I did feel sorry. This was the housekeeper's room.
Was the housekeeper had quite a nice room then?
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful fireplace again. That's closed all the shutters, which probably haven't been shut for years. And all this had to be emptied. But yes, this was used as a filming. Work all that different tone. And there's even the main doorbell there, which rings when even nobody seemed to have rung it. One night during Belgravia filming, there were a couple of nights where they filmed at about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And midnight I came down here to do something, I can't remember what it was, and the bell rang. And that's attached to a door down there, so I went down there was nobody there. I went back up and spoke to the girl I was working closely with. Somebody just rang the bell. I said, no. And it's happened again after the wedding as well, and my daughter heard it as well. We sort of think a tale it might be Major Bailey trying to get back into the house. But apparently there's a ghost who stands by outside the kitchen and walks across to the circle, but I've never seen it. Some people come in and say they do feel something, but I don't. I've not seen anything.
Is this in Belgravia?
This was used in Belgravia, and we had the original Downton Abbey bells here, just there. And I said, oh, they look really good, can you leave them? And I said, well, I'll have a word. And when the final day they were still tidying up and they were still hung, I thought, oh yeah, we're going to get them. And then when I came down later, they'd gone. But what they didn't do, they had to shut the shutters, and they hadn't painted the inside of the shutter, so you had the orange inside the shutter, so they had to quickly come and paint it. And that door there, that's a false door that Belgravia put in.
It's huge.
People come here and they visit floors and they think this is far better.
Oh yeah.
They took all the shutters out, all the lights were hired. That was probably, yeah, that were hired. The one in there, that was taken completely down, very carefully.
Did they do any actual cooking in here in Belgravia?
No, they did do cooking. They had proper food, but it was used in the main kitchen and just brought through. And obviously all that stuff down there, that was what has been left from Netflix.
Oh, this is Netflix stuff.
No,
Definitely not Belgravia, this.
they're outside what we call the courtyard, and they have this huge water dispenser fridge. What's this for? I thought it was for the crew to help themselves to a drink, but apparently it's for the filming. It was huge, they put it there. It took about 6 people to get it down here.
And that was the Netflix one?
Netflix, yes.
It's hard to keep up with them all. How long have you been filming here?
Well, last year we had 3 lots of filming, but that's the first time we had filming for a long time actually. obviously they've had some in the past, but not for quite a few years. And then Belgravia came up, then Outlander, and then out of the blue, really, Netflix. You know, within a sort of finding out we're going to have some film, they were here within a fortnight, and it was doing. You know, it was quite incredible, that one was.
Are there any more on the horizon?
Not as I'm aware of, no. Hope so. It'd be nice to think we will.
Yeah, it sounds like you enjoy being a part of the filming.
Yes, it's good. Well, because being the caretaker, I've got to watch them. Make sure they don't do this and don't do that. And
Do you have to stop?
but I think they like me because I'm quite lenient. Even the piano's been moved twice. And, all clocks, for Belgravia in particular, all the clocks had to be stopped and put at a certain time, and fire alarms had to be switched off. Even his fridge had to be switched off because I could pick everything up. And I said, well, you're picking everything up, but what happens when you're filming outside, like they're filming in Edinburgh? And so it was a bit strange, really, but you had to stop the phones ringing, everything.
Not the bell.
Yeah.
Spooky bell.
No, not the bell.
This is the servants' staircase that I'm going up now.
And when you open it, and they even put a knob on the inside, and that's just the stairway, but it's just to match the door, really. With that.
So do a lot of visitors come because they've seen it on telly and then they want to come?
Well, we'll wait and see, but
So this is new
to be
for
honest,
you?
yeah, we don't get many visitors really. Not enough to almost warrant opening really, but we're hoping Belgravia might, sort of do like a Downton, but whether it will.
So the house is still open throughout filming? And
Absolutely. Yeah, we had restricted viewing in some areas though, didn't we? Which people just had to put up with, I'm afraid. And
Different accesses.
yes, sometimes they had to come in through the basement rather than the front door, but Yeah, we actually had live filming going on in the ballroom and the drawing room at one point when the house was open, and they were able to walk through for that time.
gosh, that's such a treat for people.
They loved it. They really loved it.
set.
Yes. I think you might have got 1 or 2% of people who were a bit put out, perhaps, because this was ongoing. But on the whole, everybody was thrilled to bits about it, and pleased for us as well.
Yeah, it's a half price. You could have done doubles.
Most of the time, all the rooms were open, weren't they?
Most of them, just here and there.
Apart
it
from
was
the
a bit
marble hall,
impossible.
because there was lots of equipment in there. Generally, it's just the access, wasn't it, going through the main.
Sometimes they had to say come in through the basement door and along the bottom corridor before they could come upstairs.
Oh, do you both live on the property?
We live upstairs in the old servants' quarters in the roof. Yes. So,
What's it like living in a house like this?
it's a little bit windy because we catch all the wind up there. So but by the same token, you get beautiful sunlight coming in there as well because it's high up. But he needs to be here. That's his job. He's the caretaker.
That's the view from my workshop.
Wow.
The hunt have been passing by today. The local hunt. It's just nice to see them in costumes. That's the bit I really enjoy. Seeing them in their makeup and their costumes.
But they certainly had some equipment.
Yes, they do. It's amazing what equipment they have. It's unbelievable until you actually see it and experience it.
And the food's good. For a van, it's really good.
The thing about this house is original and amazing. Even the lavatory. Look at this. So cool. We're ready? Love it.